Hello and welcome to Gunthrex Travels. Today we're going to be talking about the Achilles heel of my little operation here. Yeah, it's my truck. We're going to do a little tour of it, talk a little bit about the truck and why I ended up getting this particular truck, the risk I took when I did it, and the problems that showed up because I ended up doing that. Yeah, it's a 2010 Ford F-250. Before I get too far into that, I did release a video shortly after I made my first round of videos, and I did them all on the same day. And because I'm using my phone to do these recordings, it caused an issue with the thing, making it look like I did really bad cuts. So I'm going to try to remember as I go forward using this device to do this, that when I swap the phone from this view to the other view, I wait a second. So let's try that now, and then we'll start talking about the truck. Okay, so hopefully I did that right and it sounds fine. As you can see, it is a 2010 Ford F-250 with the Power Stroke diesel on it. It actually was a really solid looking truck when I purchased it. These little black spots on these little black parts on the hood are actually from me pressure washing it, trying to keep it clean. But it had a pretty good paint job. The only problem it had when I purchased it is that it was involved in an accident, which involved the rear right part of the truck here. So you can't see it here because the fence is in the way, but there's some dents and stuff that are happening there. There's no way for me to, I don't think there's any way for me to get the camera in there for you to see it, but yeah. But really, that was really the only issue that it had, as far as I could tell when I bought it. Now, the big red flag for this thing was it had over 500,000 miles on it when I purchased it. So yeah, if you know anything about diesel trucks, if you know anything about just vehicles in general, you know that once you start getting into the several hundred thousands of miles for these things, it's kind of a problem, and it's a big risk to get yourself involved in that. Now, diesels in general will last a lot longer. They have a lot higher mileage ceilings on them because of the low RPM and just general things in the way that they work. They tend to be able to last a lot more in the way of, you know, the number of miles that you can put on them. But once you start getting up into like the 500,000 mile range, you're really pushing the limits of what a truck can do. Now, for the size of trailer that I have here, this is a 34-foot, 10,000 pound gross vehicle weight limit trailer. And for something of this size that I knew is going to be filled up with a bunch of stuff, it's probably going to end up being, once we get on the road, it's probably going to end up being pretty close to its gross weight. I needed at least a 3/4 ton pickup to be able to safely haul all of this around in a way that wasn't going to make it feel like I was being flung all over the road. So for me and the income level that I've traditionally had, even back when I had a real job and was making some pretty decent money, I didn't have the kind of income to be able to purchase a brand new or even a new used 3/4 ton pickup. It's just, trucks now are just so expensive that picking one up is almost as expensive as buying a house used to be. And it wasn't an option for me. I had to find something that was old and well used and, you know, ideally in pretty decent condition. Now, this truck overall, aside from the one major Achilles heel problem that I'm sure you've probably guessed what it is by now, overall the truck is actually really solid. The body and everything is great. All of the electrical stuff works great. When it's hauling the trailer, I forget it's back there. The suspension is nice. I bought it with brand new wheels, and it still pretty much has brand new treads because I don't drive it that much. And just, you know, it's a really solid truck outside of the one major problem, the engine. And I'm sure you guessed that that's what it was. So obviously with 500,000 miles on it, the engine is just more or less worn out. And when I first bought it, it seemed like it was okay. But over the last year, it's really started to develop some bad oil leaks. And I took it to the dealership and had them do a diagnostic on it. And just to get the oil leaks that need to be fixed done, they want like $3,000 for that. And that's just well outside of anything I could pay right now. So it's sitting here, it's not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. And fortunately, because we're kind of still stuck here in San Diego, that's not that big of a problem. But yeah, this is kind of the situation that we're in. So when I bought the truck, I knew going in that it was a big risk. And just like most of the risks I take in my life, I get screwed over at the end of it. Like, I'm not surprised that it happened, and I'm not necessarily bitter about it because I knew when I bought the truck that I was taking a chance. I was hoping I was going to get lucky. I was hoping I could get another maybe 100, 200,000 miles out of it before it really started having some super crazy issues, but that's asking a lot out of a truck that out of a diesel engine that has 500,000 miles on it, and especially this particular diesel engine, which if you know anything about the Ford Power Strokes, you know that the 2010 has the 6.4 liter Power Stroke engine on it, and while that's not necessarily the worst engine that Ford put in their trucks back in those days, it's still down there in the we don't really want to have that if we don't have to have it engines. So I'm actually surprised that this engine has lasted as long as it has. I believe the truck was probably used as some kind of a long haul, or it was driven on the highway a lot, and I think it was well taken care of. I think that the dealer that I bought it from probably did some things to kind of hide the engine issues that it had. But even with the problems that it has, I think I paid $12,000 for this truck. And for a 2010, even with the mileage that it had on it, that was still a pretty good deal. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but when you're talking about trucks, when you're talking about big, fat, 3/4 ton diesel trucks, $12,000 for something that, at the time I bought it was 12 years old, not necessarily the worst deal in the world, even with an engine that was questionable. And to be perfectly honest, at this point, I owe right around $4,000 on it because I made the smart decision of actually, putting a down payment on it and making sure that I got a really short loan period so that I could stay ahead of it. So if I decided to sell the truck, I could probably sell it for parts for about what I owe for it anyway. I don't think I'm going to do that, though, because I think the more economical option, rather than trying to trade into a newer truck, would be to just replace the engine on this one. Because as I said, the rest of the truck is actually really solid. I haven't noticed any problems with it at all. The brake system works great. The payload in it is all great. The way it tows, the way it drives down the road with the trailer behind it, it's perfect. It's awesome. Like, there's no problems with it. The only issue I have is that the injectors on the engine are going out. They're starting to go out again. I'm sure they've been replaced more than several times during the life of the engine, but they're starting to, I've already had to replace one of them. I didn't have enough to replace them all, and I just had to replace the one. That was expensive. And then it's starting to like leak oil like really, really bad. So I'm trying not to drive it around too much, but it is what it is. Replacing the engine on one of these for a brand new one is like 20 grand. And honestly, even at that number, I don't know. That number would be, something to consider versus even because like a newer used big fat diesel truck like this is going to be 40, 50 grand, something like that. Because you buy them brand new, and some of them are over $100,000. Like they're expensive. I think that if I could find a relatively newer used engine that would fit in this truck, I could probably get it bought and installed for between $10,000 and $15,000. And versus having to get myself obligated into a newer truck that's going to cost 3 or 4 times that, my contentment with the rest of the way that this truck is, and the fact that it's only 12 years old, effectively, means that I'm really leaning towards the, hey, let's maybe either replace the engine or maybe see if it's a candidate for having a serious rebuild done on it, and maybe that could be something that I could do with it. But yeah, this right here is my Achilles heel when it comes to wanting to get on the road, because like most of you, investing in a truck is one of those things that you're either going to spend a lot of money doing, or you're going to take a risk and you're going to buy something older and cheaper and then end up spending a lot of money, fixing it up. I think that overall, I'm probably going to save money in the long run by having bought this truck and then just accepting the fact that the engine's done and finding maybe one that has 100 or 200,000 miles on it that was part of maybe a wreck or something like that, and then having that put in the truck, and hopefully that ends up being something that makes it so that I have a relatively solid truck for an investment of maybe $22,000, $25,000 if you account the initial loan that I took to buy the truck and then replacing the engine. Now, obviously, I don't have the money to replace the engine. It's going to be a while before I have the money to replace the engine, unless I can find some way to finance that process. We'll see. We'll look around and try to see if we can figure something out for that. But yeah, I just wanted to take a second to explain the truck, explain why I bought the truck, explain the problem with the truck, make it very clear that I was fully aware of all the risks that came with buying this particular truck. I took the risk hoping that it would work out, and it just didn't. I didn't get lucky and get that unique unicorn gem of a truck where it's still in nice condition and it has a bunch of miles left on it. It was unrealistic to expect that. I knew that at the time, but I took the risk anyways because it was the best option I had, and I needed a truck at that moment. It was the only one that was really an option for me. So I got this, and it is what it is. Now, I did want to go ahead and take a couple of minutes to just go around through the truck so you guys could see what it is that I have and why I bought it. It was mostly because I really liked the interior, because whoever owned this truck, when they had it, they really took care of the interior of this truck. Whoever owned this was some kind of a professional, or just somebody who was really cared about making sure that the inside of the truck was as taken care of as it could be. And like, one of the things that sold me on this truck was the fact that the interior of the truck was just so clean. It was so solid. Everything in it works. It doesn't have any kind of issues. When you're driving it down the road, like, the instrument panel is super clean. The steering wheel is super clean. The seats aren't torn or anything. Everything about, like, the windows and everything are all solid, except a crack developed in the windshield, so we're gonna have to replace the windshield. But outside of that, and the fact that there's a leak back here, so that when I take it to the drive-through car wash, it like drips like it's raining right here. But outside of those couple of things, the interior of this truck is just immaculate. Like, by my standards, immaculate. And I was really happy with the interior of the truck. Even with the oil leaks that it has, the engine still drives great. I haven't noticed any problems driving the truck. It just leaks oil really bad. It just leaks, like, really bad, like, compared to what most diesels do. Like, obviously, every diesel pretty much leaks, but this one is just like, it's leaving a lot more oil on the ground than it used to. I also, as you've seen more than once, I also have this camper shell that I got lucky and found for like just a few $100s from somebody who just needed to get rid of it. And I was super excited when I found that, because now it provides me with this really nice big storage area. After that, I ended up buying the carpet bed liner that you can see here. It was a requirement as soon as I knew I was getting this truck, because I knew that there were going to be situations where I needed to be down on my hands and knees or whatever doing things in here, and I'm not trying to do that on bare metal. That's just not happening. So I removed the black plastic bed liner that it had in it and put this carpet bed liner in, and it's nice and soft and comfortable, and I can get in here and do things and not have to mess up my knees that are already messed up from the Marine Corps. Like, I don't need to mess with that anymore. So yeah, this is the truck. This is what I have. I wanted to take a moment to kind of address that this is one of the major obstacles that we need to overcome before we're able to get on the road. So even with all the other projects that we want to get done around the trailer, until we fix this one, going anywhere just isn't an option yet. So we're not really in any hurry at this point, because it's going to take us a long time to figure out a way to resolve the truck issue. But if we can either get the engine rebuilt or just replace it with something newer, I feel pretty confident that for the foreseeable future, for like the next maybe 10 years, the next 10 years, we will have a solid, reliable truck that I'm happy with and won't need to trade it out or do anything like that. We'll just have something nice and solid. So yeah, just wanted to take a moment to talk about the truck. Be sure to click the like button if you got something out of this video to help the YouTube algorithm spread it out to other people. Join the channel. I keep jumping back and forth between. My gaming channel has memberships. This channel does not. It's not there yet. Subscribe to help us reach the 1,000 subscriber mark so that we can get channel memberships and make that a thing. But the number doesn't actually go up unless you press the subscribe button. So be sure to go ahead and do that right now. And then I would normally talk about memberships and stuff like that, but like I said, wrong channel. So I'm just going to go ahead and say thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to come back for whenever the next one happens to be, and I'll see you then.